Well, despite all my misgivings, let's get started on Ney versus Wellington. First off, on the first turn, we ignore the first 9 of these, which gets us down to Allied charge declaration. Oh no, French facing formation phase. So we're going to be doing the formation, the movement, and then possible Allied shocks. I don't think anything moves fast enough. I look around, and there aren't a lot of units that the Allies have in the forward. So the real question is, where do we want to push? What do we want to do with the French? Now, we know what our goal is, right? Our goal is to break the British Army primarily, but also to get to Cavalry, to get across this road, stuff along that line. And what's going to do that the best for us? Kind of a hard choice. I don't think marching through the forest is particularly useful. I don't really think that chasing down skirmishers is terribly useful. So the real question is, where do we want to throw our weight? We've got these artillery we have to deal with. Yeah, they're kind of a problem. And I got to get my my ammo markers for them. But yeah, most of my units aren't able to move very far. So, well, I'll start moving them. We'll see what we get to here. I can break down skirmishers if I so desire. Don't know about that. And I push some of the French forward. There's not a lot that they're facing. So, right now, a light skirmisher line, a couple of artillery here that I'm not sure I want to remain there. I may be pulling back. And such not. I don't really think, like, Jamilcourt here might be worth defending. Anchor in the woods, anchor at this pond, and try to hold a line mostly along this stream. What is the effect of the stream? Well, it'll disorder units that try to shock across it, is I guess the biggest thing it's going to do. But anyway, I've pushed my French forward. That is actually the end of turn 1. So I'm going to put this here. Get a die there to remind me that I'm at the start of a turn. I'm going to take a break. It didn't take me very long, but that's okay. I'm willing to take things easy to begin with. I looked over some of the BGG comments on this. Because again, Wellington's victory is well regarded. This one is too, apparently. I can't see it with the state the rolls are in. But, like, again, I often dredge it up, but it's like, here it feels a lot worse than the oft-maligned Armada's rolls. In terms of, like, yeah, there's enough problems in this. I don't remember there being too many contradictions in the Armada rolls. And certainly, something like the line of sight rolls that are just completely bullshit in here and wrong. The one comment that largely pervaded across people who like it is that the big flaw in the game is that the skirmishers are too powerful. Which, me looking at the charts and whatnot and putting some thought into it feels like the opposite of what I expect. The same problem apparently applies to Wellington's victory. Well, in that case, and the claim is that the French can just break down lots and lots of skirmishers and create this huge sort of army ants type of attack that is not realistic and whatever. Other things that I've heard is that the French unit's quality is so much higher than the non-British allies that because a fair amount of the forces are non-British, they're just going to collapse under it. Now you see the Dutch are kind of hiding in the woods and shit like that. And these don't look too bad. These don't look too bad. I don't know, man. Like, I'm seeing a lot of 4 quality units. Yes, there are 5 quality units. These are the lights. If you're breaking them down into skirmishers, you don't have those potent units. Anyway, let's get started with a real turn. French charge declaration. Sure. Let's see if we got any Cav within range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we'll put a charge out here. It's 6 hexes or 5. I think it's 6 for the charge marcher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And yes, the Cav is a little shorter range than the artillery. So who had Cav? You can't, there's no way to get these right. All right. That should scare some skirmishers. I don't think I have any Cav anywhere else. These guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are going to be 2. They're not going to get anything in their range. Don't have any there. I think don't have a lot of Cav. So yeah, this Cav is declaring a charge zone for whatever that means. All right, French rally. Yeah, there isn't going to be any. Allied facing in formation, movement, and whatnot. It's time to see where I can get my units. Mainly, time to see where these, this column, etc., can get into line and try to defend anything. I started moving this column, but before I do that, I actually have to hit this guy. Make a quick morale check for him. He only fails on us. Well, actually, I don't know, because there's this whole list of fucking modifiers. But a 2, he should be fine. Artillery running away. I don't think I can hold that line. I want to get behind the stream. Pulling some of these back. I'm leaving him here. I don't think he's doing any harm. Rifles moving forward. What's on the other side of these? Regular skirmishers. The column moving up. Some of these Dutch coming into place. I actually don't think that the quality... I mean, these, and if these are the Hanoverians, wow, they suck. These guys aren't too bad. I'm actually not that disappointed with the quality of the Dutch units, to tell you the truth. So, anyway, trying to put something into place. That means this charge is not going to happen because I fell away from it. And French don't have any shock they can do, so we get rid of this. We go to the artillery fire phase, right? Mutual artillery fire. Well, I've only got one unlimbered gun, and it's way too far away to fire anyway. Not worried about it. And so we get to the Allied phase. I think the only Cav I have is back here, which is not going to do anything charge-wise. I get a rally phase. Disorder automatically rally, I believe. They're just forming up. And now the French get to continue their move. And, you know, there's this, geez, what do I do with the skirmishers? You know, are they worth having, you know, up there? Should I have fallen back with them? I don't know. I don't know. We're charging forward in column, pretty much across the line. Getting some Cav up into place. See if we can scare them back a little bit more. That was the French march. Now the Allies have an opportunity to shock. Well, skirmishers aren't going to be able to shock. I'm able to move up adjacent to them. They don't run away from that. And that puts me end of 2 turns. It's okay, not much has happened, but again, this game has created such fear in me in so many ways, just because of my knowledge of you know, how it worked before. I gotta say this much. I remembered it feeling more like a cluttered and painful terrain to fight through. And it doesn't seem that way to me. The only thing is, yeah, sure, these guys are in the woods. But yeah, I'm not feeling some of the same, some of the impressions that I seem to remember, which was that, you know, oh, I can't do shit with my, you know, my Dutch up here or whatever. but I thought it was more of a front line built out and less room to like maneuver right at the beginning and everything. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I don't remember something correctly. Maybe it's a little later in the game that things end up becoming kind of a static line. But right now, there's plenty of room for the French to go marching up. Now, I am probably going to want to change into line formation to fight, just because of the fire capability in line formation, but the speed, if I'm going to be doing shock combat and stuff, the speed is really important. Those skirmishers got to get out of the way one way or another. And they're going to have an opportunity before the mutual fire. I feel like this weird asymmetrical sequence of play is kind of like, yeah, it only works because one side is continually on the offensive throughout the battle. And you could kind of use something like this in a battle that maybe swings a little bit more by, you know, having an alternating initiative type situation, where if one side obtains initiative, then they become, I guess, the second player. It seems really weird to me, like, it feels like it would be like it's a penalty to be made the attacker, right? Like being declared that you are now on the offensive is going to put you in a penalty because the Allies have this capability for a counterattack based on the system. Now, maybe it's all instead supposed to represent, you know, Allied capabilities of attacking and whatever. But honestly, if you look at like Waterloo, there weren't a lot of counterattacks. It was primarily holding out against, you know, it was the thin red line holding out against Napoleon. And likewise here, it kind of makes sense. I don't think the British really had the forces to do a massive push of counterattack here. But we shall see. Somebody else did videos on this. They seemed very positive about it as well. So I don't know. Maybe doing videos will get me over my fear and maybe I'll end up enjoying this system. I mean, I had fun with Monmouth when I played it opposed. So who knows? We're getting to the third turn and things are going to actually kind of start happening here. Yeah, the first turn was half a turn. So I've been looking at the Wellington's victories rules now, it's kind of interesting. The cover, obviously, they put the TSR stuff on it. I think the image is probably TSR era as well, although I can't guarantee anything about that. But I noticed at least one place where they got around one of the errors in the rules, which is the movement, the grand tactical movement. If you recall, I found something where it's like, wow, that's just a contradiction. Yeah, it's not in these rules. Okay. This is a later version of the rules, though, perhaps. Except I look here at the inventory of game parts, and it's got 2 game boxes. This is the rule set from the original double flat box version. I don't think anything's changed. I think it was released with the same rules. There are more complexities to the game. For example, it's got kind of a command and control structure, which this one doesn't. Yeah, this has commanders which modify your morale checks, etc., but it doesn't have any kind of requirement to be in command to move. Wellington's Victory does. I see that already. So, you know, this is a pared down version of it that they fucked up stuff. You know, we've seen 2 things. 1, the line of sight rules, they mucked them up for this. 2, the grand tactical movement. There clearly is a problem with the rules in Ney versus Wellington. I think just the attempt to transition the game. So what are we at? French charge declaration. Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably, you know. These Cav, can they see this? That's a good question. I think not. because this would be the straight line and this gets converted. So I don't have a charge view on anything, but that doesn't mean I can't throw down some of these and create a charge zone, as far as I can tell. I don't think it's like shadowed by the units here. So I just don't know. I didn't see anything in the rules that requires, I'll look again, but I didn't see anything that requires that you not create a charge zone simply because you can't see something. I don't think I can actually charge it without seeing something. But I'm a little confused about that. Because I can move through units and stuff. You don't want to, but I could. Now, changing facing would disorder me, so I mean, I'm not going to launch a charge, but I am going to create the, oh look, you got to make morale checks if I can. And then there's another one here that I can create more charge zones with, I think. I don't know. Forget one thing though. I got to make a morale check. Now this guy's got a 5, but he's got a bonus on it. He can't fail. This guy has a 4. Oh, I think he's got a bonus as well. Okay. So he also would get to make his charge. As far as I can tell, he projects a charging zone. This zone is identical to the fire zone, except... See, it's a little weird because it can't go through obstructed hexes, but... I mean, is it the zone that's fucked with or what? I don't know. It's kind of... So we'd be creating another zone here. Right? And then we got another one here. Got another 4 with a leader. That's fine. So we create another charge zone. Yeah, it's starting to get fucked up, isn't it, too? Like, you know, what corresponds to what? It's just going to be a fucking mess. And I think that's all Mike have. And I don't see anything that prevents me from creating those. During the shock combat phase, I can... Oh, God. Oh, wait, although it does extend across obstructed terrain hex sides. Yeah, no, that's... Now, when I execute the charge, if I go through any friendly units, I've got a problem. I'm really not sure that I can even create these if I'm not getting a line of sight. Let me find the line of sight rule for this. Oh God, the line of sight rules. We got how terrain affects observation, but we don't have how observation affects the shock combat. Maybe I'm just imagining something. I know there are games where you can't charge things if you don't have visibility, but I thought I read that here. And now I can't find it. So here it is. During charge declaration, the phasing player may initiate a charge by any cav unit he controls if that unit is formed and is able to observe a hex occupied by at least one enemy troop strength point. All right, none of these work because I cannot observe anything. I'd be able to do funky shit if I could, but as it stands, I can't observe anything. This line is the only hex row that I can see anything through. So I am unable to declare any of those. Instead of a charge phase, there's a command phase in Wellington's victory, which is going to handle the movement commands. French don't have any rallies. That means the Allies get to move. The problems I'm immediately faced with is these guys. I could back out of there, but in doing so, I would incur a withdrawal fire. Now, let me look at what I'd be doing here. So I would want to be column skirmishers firing. I'd be on this. That's the same as maximum range. So I would really not like to be adjacent to these things, especially since the French can shock me before I get a chance to fire. So I think I want to fall back from each of these hexes. And in doing so, I'm going to get shot at. So let's fall back from this hex. And we're being faced by a column 1 through 5. Target class will be 3. So these are going to need a 6 to hit me. If they hit me, they kill me, which will suck. And now I get to back away. Do I want to go further than that? I don't know. I don't know what else, is going to be moving and where it's going to be positioning each other. I kind of think I want this line of skirmishers out in front. This one as well. Now, this gets shot at by 2 different units. These are going to be 6s. So they actually could hit on a 5 or a 6. The odds of that are not good, but my skirmisher is not going to survive the shock combat. So we'll try to get away. 1, 2, we do. And I get out of there. And then I'll continue with other movements. There's the Allied movement. I'm pulling these skirmishers off the flanks. I just don't think that they're very useful. Brought the rifles up, bringing some stuff up. This artillery still facing the wrong way, trying to run away as fast as it can. It's in danger. That gives me French shock. There isn't any. Puts me to artillery fire. Now we have a range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a range 6 possible shot here. At, is this 9 or more? It is. At a mass target. It was in column anyway, so no big deal. This is 6 guns at firepower 2. So let's take a look. This would be max range. 6 guns, firepower 2. I think it's worth firing. I'm going to pull out my TSS counters because I got to put a 5 ammo in there, and we'll just unload. Another differentiation, they track the gun crews separately, so I think they can route away from the cannons in Wellington's victory, whereas here it would just destroy. So anyway, I put this under here to indicate there's 5 shots left. And what did we say we were at? We were at 6-2 over here. We get a 2, we cause a hit. That's a hit on this, it'll get a 4. It's now got a 4 morale to begin with. That drops down to a 3. It's fine, but we cost a morale point for that shot. 89 more to go. I think that's the only artillery I have set up to fire. I have one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Might not want to be staying in column if I'm going to be facing artillery fire. Now we go to infantry fire. Who goes first? I don't recall. I think it may be by die roll. Let's see. I see section 11. I don't know who gets first shot is basically. At the beginning of each, either player rolls the die to see who gets to fire first. Yeah. So, allies odd. Okay. Well, we have 3 units that can shoot. Doesn't really matter where I start. I'll start on this side, I guess. Get the advantage there. So I've got a 1-point skirmisher. That's going to put me over here. My fire quality, I've got a 5 morale, so it's whatever the highest is, which is, or the best, which is firepower 1. And I am firing at a unit in column, which isn't too bad, to tell you the truth. But I miss. Now he can go. The French can go. Now I could start here, but then I'd be behind all the time, so I go over here instead. I've got 4 strength points firing from column at max range against a skirmisher. I essentially need a 6 to hit this thing. And this is, I think, where the skirmishers are powerful, if you stay at a couple of hex range. So then I go to the second skirmisher, I shoot the unit in front of it. Again, that's going to be in column. It's not massed, but it doesn't really matter. I get my hit. Puts a 3 in there. We make a casualty check. Pretty sure it's either a 5 or a 6 or just a 6. So no loss there. He's got a 4 morale, up 1, down 1. He holds, but we did have to track another army morale down. That means if I want to fire this one, I got to do it now. Well, on a 6 I hit, I'll go for this one. Okay, and now this gets to shoot back. Again, it's on this table, which means a 3 or higher is a hit. No such luck. We cut down, and the final shot here is again a 1 in 6 chance of hitting, which does nothing. Allied charge, the only Allied cav is way back here. Allied rally, nothing's in trouble. Which means it's time for the French to move. I gotta worry if I'm in minimum range fire zones when I do anything. I may want to form line just to reduce the hits that I'm gonna take off those skirmishers. I got to be careful though, because if I am, what, size 6? Yeah, size 6, I have to extend the line. Okay, so we pushed up, and we've got some line extensions here. We're basically pushing up in line up against these skirmishers, try to drive them back. They're going to have to pull away, undergo, well, they have a couple of choices. They can either pull away, in which case they undergo fire from line infantry at minimal range, which is not pleasant, or they can stand there and trade shots. Now, one notable thing, and I noticed this in the Wellington's victory, and I'm sure it appears here too, if I look, which is that same unit here. No, it's not showing here. But many of the units, this was like a 4 morale unit. It's got a 3 effectiveness on its line side. I guess the Brits are generally more effective. They managed to hold their effectiveness in line. The French, not so much. That's problematic, potentially, because it could reduce their firing quality. Now, we don't have as big a glossary here. Firepower rating. It's based on original effectiveness. Okay, good enough. That's the same as the earlier game. That's a big deal because if I start taking casualties, I don't want my fire effectiveness to decrease. My strength points will decrease, but that's not such a big deal. It's the fire effectiveness that's really, really important, I think. I don't know, they kind of merge together. Anyway. That was the French march. Allies are not going to shock attack. Those skirmishers are not allowed to, so we get to the terminal phase, and we're up here with more reinforcements coming. I am not going to load this yet, even though we've had a little bit of firepower, etc. I want to see a little bit more of the game unfold before we do. Right now, it's just buzzing along and nothing's happening, and I'm okay with it, to tell you the truth, so far. Certainly not matching my fears and memories. Memories, yeah, okay. So my worst memories come from when I faced this and just couldn't deal with it and had to break out, you know, and punch my Napoleon at Waterloo, and then realize, wow, I had a couple of games that were of that kind of level already. And when I finally did get around to this as the most complicated and painful of that original set, it was just still too painful for me. You know, at 12 years old or whatever, which is what it seems to turn out to be. But I can remember hitting this game in my 30s and still feeling like, yeah, I could kind of get the rules, but I didn't really have, I still didn't feel like I was getting a decent game. Right now I feel like I'm getting an okay game out of it, so I don't know. I don't know what my issue was the last time. Maybe it's because I'm running it on video and weird things happen to my mental state in those cases. All right. Well, it's about 8 in the morning, I guess. It's supposed to be a rainy day. We'll see. Been playing a lot of Raid, but I don't know. I'm trying to break free, but I can't. It keeps sucking me back in. They come up with some new event or another that I want to complete, and now today, well, tomorrow morning, there's going to be one of these clan events that I have to participate in. It's just a pain in the ass. We got some allied reinforcements coming in, and we're going to get 20 more morale. I think it's pretty fair to say you're not going to burn through that 45 morale in what I've seen of the game so far. You just can't close, you know. So I don't know. I don't know how much the trickling in of morale does, except create an illusion that the French have to attack, which is cool. But I would suspect that the next time you play, you don't feel under as much hurry to try to deal with that. I'm gonna look for Cav, see if the French have anything open that they can declare a charge on. They do. I'm able to see this artillery piece. That's the only thing I'm able to see. But that gives me a charge zone. That requires, I believe, that allied artillery to make a morale check. And I think it may even be a +1, even though that's at like maximum. Yeah, is it maximum? 2, 3. That's at medium charge range or something. But they make it easily. We got no disorder for the French, and now the Allies get to move. In the midst of my movement, and these big English units are causing me issues. Because of the extended lines, and the fact that you can't stack different unit types, and I have artillery placed in there. By the way, I looked at the counter scan. These green guys are the Hanoverians. So I'm having trouble. Like the stream bank here, this guy can't cover the 2 hexes of the stream bank. He was back here. Could flip. He would have been hard to get into position anyway, so I'm shifting things around. These guys are in column. I've got a unit in column here, but I can't turn this into line. Likewise, I can't turn this into line. It's too big to fill in the area. And I got like a smaller unit here. Now, if this was a light, I could dissolve a number of units into skirmishers and fling them out in front, and then I'd be fine. But I can't do that. I could throw one out, but that's not enough to get rid of the extended line. I'm finding myself doing weird stuff, trying to get my units into position. And it's really a matter of, I'm not used to having to define the line long before I reach it. Conceivably, I can do something like this. This may have been the unit that went up there anyway. I could do something like flip him over in facing formation, move him for 1 movement point, and flip him back over. I think he was actually a unit I had back here and moved up. I would be able to get him into there, which means now I can take a line formation here, which is what I want to be in. I do not want to be in column everywhere, but I take up so much frontage in line that it's causing me issues. And then on places like this slant, I'd have to offer a flank that I don't want to offer, which means this unit's probably going to drift back there. Next turn, opening up space, but I don't know. This is how I kind of position myself after the initial march, and what we're getting is kind of a double line of Allied forces. If I get broken through, I have another force to put in. I haven't brought my reinforcements in, and I also haven't made the decision on the militia, skirmishers. But here's the problem: if I don't move out of there with those skirmishers, they're just going to get shock attacked. So I kind of have to, which gives opportunity fire to all the French units that they're next to. And that, see, this is a problem. I've got my rifle skirmishers up there. They're going to be a powerful firepower capability, but they actually have a decent melee capability too on defense. So they may be more of an inhibition than this thin line here. Not yet comfortable with the fire combat. Let's do a withdrawal here. That's going to generate 2 fires, I think. Which will be, these are both in line formation, which will be this, and the 1 to 3 that's here will be this column. Then we look at his quality, it's 3, that's middle quality, so I'll be in the middle row there, against, what is it, class 3 target? So I still need a 6 to hit him. Now we could actually dart into this and get some reciprocal fire as a class 5 target. As a class 5 target, we're almost unhittable. So we're going to fall back there and try to hold that with our 2 movement. Now remember, as skirmishers, we don't have facing, and we just pay 1 movement point per hex. So that's pretty easy. I forgot about the 4-point fire though. Hold on. We also had a line formation firing at 4, quality 3, down here. That actually needed a 5 or a 6, so we had a chance of hitting it. Okay, we did hit the skirmisher. That's a death for the Allies. And comes off there. Anyway, I'll continue with the rest. I'll give a report on them. Here we come in with this. I fired this. This missed as this is trying to withdraw. But this gets to fire. Now, this is an extended line. You would think it would have half the strength on each part. No, it has its full 6-point firing at a 5 quality there. So we look all the way over here. It's a 5 quality. It's all the way over here. It's going to need a 5 or a 6. Oh, wait, no. That puts it on the 1 table. On the 1 column, it's better. That puts it on a 3 through 6, causes a casualty. This time we get away and we'll fall back just 1 hex because we want to be able to fire, right? I'm not so sure I'm seeing the skirmishers as that potent a force, but I've got them spread out all over the place. What would a big stack of skirmishers do? I don't know, because they can basically only fire on that shitty column. So I don't think that's how you're supposed to use them. Some people may have found some interesting ways of utilizing them. Certainly the rifle guys are scary, okay? Why are they scary? Well, maybe I don't want to have them all stacked anyhow. Maybe I want them spread out as well, because they also are going to be firing on this table, and they get a +1 on each. So they were here. I'm gonna spread them out a little. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 3, 4. Might as well put somebody in there, and just create a little bit more density with them. I'll fill in the gaps as I pull these guys back. Again, this guy's going to get hit by this big 6.5 unit here, as well as the shitty 4.3 as he withdraws. But he can't afford to stand. He can't afford the melee. And so I defined a skirmisher line here. Again, these guys positioned them where we want them. I don't know. I forgot to pay the movement penalties here. Screw it. That would have ranged through this movement. This guy might have been unable to do what he did. I really don't care. I feel like this Cav is exerting an extreme amount of power for what it actually is. We got the Hanoverians coming down here. And one thing I wanted to point out, the front side of these counters, this may not be obvious to you. The front side of these counters are their column version. The back side is their line version. That's sort of the opposite of what I'm used to from, you know, again, all other games. But you gotta say, you know, those other games are mainly based on the TSS structure for a tactical type minis conversion type game. Whereas this came out at about the same time and made a different decision. And had this been the prevailing choice, I might have been upset about, you know, the TSS-based ones. Instead, this system became kind of a backwater. Although I know that somebody was making a Wellington's Victory, or maybe already has made, a Wellington's Victory system-based game more recently. Again, I'm not really terribly fond of the system. You know, I found my Napoleonic system. It's NBS 3.0. Unfortunately, it's a dead system. You know, I don't know if now that Dean's gone, rest in peace and all. But you know, I love what he did for the hobby. But maybe somebody else at the Gamers will take it up, or maybe somebody else somewhere else will take it up. I know there were hints about it being taken up anyway, because the problem with that one is the system didn't really reach its full stride until Talavera. And you know, the best version of the system by far got released with a really obscure battle. The other thing is the Napoleonic, like the people who love the Napoleonics are into the Clash of Arms and Marshall, the Labatt series. And there's sort of, you know, if you're not into all the intricacies of that, which I am not, especially as portrayed in Dresden, I'll give it another shot. I have an older one, but the graphics aren't so nice on it. But yeah, Didier Roy's games, and I don't know what L'Empereur, I don't remember series, but a lot of them are named Labatt. It's sort of a kind of a lighter weight system. It's a lighter weight version of the NBS type stuff. I don't like it as much, but it's okay. You know, it's fun. It's got the orders and everything. And then you've got like OSG with its huge library of battles and whatnot under the Zucker system, which is basically Napoleon at Waterloo. You know, I mean, yeah, it's got chrome on it and everything, but it's, again, it's not giving the taste that I want. Labatt is giving the level of detail I want. There's just too many problems with certain choices that were made for me that just don't appeal to me. Among them, the way they depict the units. You know, I know some. I saw one comment. The big white X's on the units turned me off this game. I don't want to play. You know, I don't want to play it. Yeah, I actually find them really a nice design feature. It really, what I find less nice is the dark blue, which the black ink just doesn't show well on. I guess they didn't have white ink technology back then, but. I mean, they did, but for precise printing as opposed to, you can, I don't know, the white looks kind of fuzzy in some ways. I really don't know. It wasn't long after that games came out with white print on them in a lot of cases. But yeah, there's a fair number of series that cover Napoleonics. It's just unfortunate that, like, the one that I like best couldn't compete, and in part it's because it had some real issues in the first couple releases. You know, in the first couple versions of the rules. The 2.0 rules were a big improvement, but the 3.0 just took it to another level. That I think in terms of realism and everything. All right. Anyway, enough digression. We're on the French shock. I could shock this. Maybe I wish to. I'm in a line. Test out the rules enough, and then we can load this one up. So I have only 4 strength points here against 1. That gives me a 400% ratio. I remember there were some... Hey, if you beat this, wow, a lot of rules on shock, aren't there? I seem to remember something about, like, you get an automatic victory, in which case I won't move there, right? I'm too... This is charges. That's not going to be that. Don't feel like it should be there. It's got to be back here. But there's some weird little rule. I'm just not finding it. I'm going to back away and not force you to look at the rules for so long. But somewhere or another, I am pretty sure that it tells me that if I'm above a certain percent, and I think it's higher than 400%, but it may not be, it's an automatic R result on the enemy. Maybe it's in results. Maybe. Because it's someplace kind of, like, I don't feel like it was at the beginning. There we go. Yeah, that's a weird place for this rule. Again, this rule set, and who do we blame for this? We blame Balkowski as the author, and we definitely blame Eric Goldberg as a specific rules editor who didn't like see that and say this is stupid. But they were both pretty young probably at that point. Oh. It's a differential of -2 or better and a percentage of 400 or better. I don't know if I'm going to have the -2. Because I'm at like -4 here. So yeah. All right, we'll leave that there. We'll figure out what the value is in that case. So we have a whole list of the modifiers. So we start here. This has an effectiveness of 3, dropped by 1 because I lost a strength point, so I'm a 2. That gives me a -4 modifier. Now, I am at 300% or more. But the -4 modifier means that some damage can happen here. +1 if within command radius of... Oh, first of all, first things first, I'm in a minimum range fire zone and leaving it. I get a fire combat result here, which means we're looking at a skirmisher at highest quality on the 1 column there against a line formation. I do not cause any casualties coming in. Which could have caused a disorder and all kind of nasty stuff. Levels, looks the same. Command radius of an Okay, I'm in command radius. I'm in command radius. I'm actually not sure the skirmisher can take advantage of this. But I'm going to ignore that because... Well, here it says 12.14. It doesn't have a limitation, but there's somewhere where skirmishers are immune to command or something like that. I don't know. But anyway. 2 more points for hard cover, which is putting it at like a -4. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't go to -4. So now I just roll a die on the 300% at -2. And we get a 1. The attacker takes a DR1, the defender takes a D1. The D1 is going to kill this guy. But the DR1 result... I'm sorry. I'm just used to them being planes. Loses troop strength and must immediately retreat 3 hexes, and adjacent friendly units have to check morale. So this goes down to a 3. We lose another morale off the army here. This retreat's not going to be easy. I don't know what retreat through rules are. This unit is adjacent, but its initial morale is also a 3, so it actually does have to check. Let me do a morale check on them, and then I'll figure out how the retreat goes. But this has a morale of 4 here. Okay, so that unit holds. This unit, though, has to retreat. How is the retreat handled? They can retreat over friendly units if desired. This disorders the units retreated over. I mean, the easiest would be to retreat right over units, but I don't think I have to. I think I can do this, and we put a disorder there. It's not absolutely clear that I, like, there's this, so there's a lot of fuzziness to the retreat rules in this. And, you know, somebody pointed out to me, why don't you just flow with the game and don't worry about, you know, the ambiguities. Okay, I'll make up rules on the fly as I go. I mean, I do that. I do that with a lot of things. I try to point out the problems because I gotta tell you, I know players who fucking hate games that have ambiguities and that have problems in them. I'm willing to make up rules as I go. I'm playing solo. But if I'm playing against an opponent and we get in a disagreement with this, yeah, we gotta roll a die. That's why there's a roll a die rule. Yeah, because they didn't write the rules explicitly, so they added an extra case. But the way the roll the die rule is worded is just bogus. Okay, so we fell away from there, and what are we at? That was French shock. We're gonna be on the fire phase. I'm worn out, man. I really am. Just moving some units, and this is the feeling I had, was the continuous having to look up, was that it didn't get better, but it is also not a very long game. And my hopes are that playing the system in a longer context, first this, and then the Wellington's victory, and maybe with the better rules that Wellington's victory has that actually cover things when I look them up. And to be fair, they're doing a 12-page rule book. Sure, there's a lot of stuff here. For something that takes almost twice as many pages in the Napoleon's victory. Well, I mean the Wellington's victory. Let's say 20 pages. Not even. But they have condensed this rule book significantly, and that's where the problems lie. This was not a simple game, and they put it into a magazine format in only 12 pages. It's somewhat disturbing because quite often in this same period, well, in a period a little bit later than this, the period I'm used to, there were 16-page rule books pretty regularly. And I think with that much extra pageage, this could have ended up with, you know, pretty solid rules, as opposed to, well, just trim stuff until you get down to the 12 pages we're willing to assign you. And there were also a lot of games that, well, yeah, 12 pages, I was thinking, that have like 8 pages of standard rules and 4 pages of exclusive rules or something from this era. But yeah, but I think they extended, not long after this, the amount of pages of rules that could be done. And this may have been part of it, you know, and some other games that just, you know, didn't manage. But here you've got them boiling down the rules significantly. Anyhow, given that, I'm gonna place these here to remind me. Go down, have a little smoke and whatever. I don't expect this to turn into a pretty day. We'll see. I just came, somebody took the time to poke through the rules and try to come up with arguments against a lot of what I said. You know, I said, I don't think there's anything that I really need to correct in what I said, and pointed out my own responses to that. But you know what? I am wrong. There is one thing that he pointed out that I absolutely should correct. The example that I gave in the introduction, about a line of sight check, I didn't convert to meters. You have to convert to meters to get, because there's a fixed constant of 1.5, et cetera, in there. It's not going to be proportional. So, and also, you know, it's meant to balance the hex side to the meter size of the height, et cetera. So you actually have to do that. In which case you just multiply the height value by 5. Now assuming, this is level 0 counts as 0, everything is going to be relatively appropriate within that. So that, yeah, there's 5 meters in between each level. That means each person is 2.5 meters. Woods, of course, are always blocking. Of course, then again, so are troop units. But then they go out of their way to say how you calculate whether or not a troop unit is blocking terrain. It's weird. I think it's fine. Whatever. Anyway, I think that's just a typo, or what I'm calling cut and paste errors, because I think what happened again is people took Wellington's victory, Balkowski and Goldberg took that, and I mean, these are probably two 16, 17-year-old kids. I'm pretty sure this is one of Balkowski's first couple designs. Comes out in 78. He had another one in 78 as well. And pretty sure Goldberg is even younger. So Balkowski may be a little older. He may be in college or whatever, but Goldberg is probably like 16 or 17 years old doing the rules editing for this thing. So you've got, two relatively inexperienced people thrown into, hey, turn 20 pages of rules into 12 for me. and get it done in time for publication, because we're going to squeeze this one in. It's not going to be a problem, right? Yeah, okay. Look, I can live with that. But here's the thing. It's possible that the numbers that I calculated there indicated the flaw, which is that a gentle slope in any direction can block terrain, right? Or can block line of sight, the way it's worded. Look, whether or not that particular example is valid, and I'm not going to recheck it with the multipliers. It might be, it might not be. It may be that the line of sight gets to beyond where it's important before that happens, but the truth of the matter is that the formula that they give, they're assigning blocking terrain to any height of terrain, which means that there will be a point where there's a long slope that's long enough, and it may be 5 times as long as that last one, that the line of sight is blocked. And that's just not valid, right? It may be sufficient for the game, but it's just not right. You shouldn't have to be calculating whether or not each hex on the way on a continual slope is a possible line of sight obstruction. Line of sight obstructions, and again, look, who's going to do that? Only a pedant. But it should not be checked on each hex. It should only be checked where there's a possible line of sight obstruction, which would be, well, woods in most games, but they're not given a height in this. They're just infinite. Same with buildings. Troops, which there's, again, an ambiguity because the two rules conflict with each other. But you can give troops half a height level, which means I guess they're 2.5 meters if you want to convert them or something like that, which is reasonable. And intervening obstructions, right? But not every hex on the line, right? So, you would have something where if I'm trying to sight from here to here, this is probably an obstruction. And I can just see that, and I probably don't even need to calculate it, and I can say, yeah, it's going to be an obstruction, right? But, yeah. And it's almost certainly not going to be a big issue in most places. Anyway, where the hell are we? We're on fire. Ooh. I got my artillery fire. I had to think about this. First of all, the French don't have any artillery limbered or unlimbered. But the question is, do I want to fire, do I want to keep using up ammo? Well, in some cases, yes. Like right here. So I'm going to come back after I do them, but basically this line of units probably will all take shots. Should we look at one? Yeah, let's look at another one. Yeah. So I got a line of sight here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hexes at strength 8. 8, 3, right? Such a complicated. This chart is just annoyingly complicated for what it does. I'm comparing it to like the multiplier fire charts that TSS uses, which are far easier to cope with, even though they contain a lot of information as well. You're translating from one chart to the other, from firepower value, etc. Anyway, what did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hex. So I look for, that is a column unit, so it'll be class 1, which makes it a good target. I'm firing, I think this is max range artillery. So it's at the shitty level, but it's 8 firepower points, which gets me over here, and we're going to cause some damage, so we might as well do it. And it is a fire class 3, which is not the best, but basically I cause a hit on a 2 or higher. We roll a die, I get a 3. I cause a casualty here, which gets me a 5 under here. That's going to lower. This was one of his points, was, what causes you to lose morale or effectiveness when you lose skirmishers? Well, every troop strength point. When you lose a troop strength point, your effectiveness goes down. That's actually in the rules. Very, very clearly. And now I look for, in my baggie, one of these. This was a bad solution to give. TSS had a much better solution with the 2 different types of numbers. But again, this was a very limited countermix. All right, and this guy's got to make a morale check, which he now fails because he's down to a 4. So he ends up disordered. I don't believe you retreat on that check. I think it just disorders you. Okay, I'm pretty sure it actually does. So now I'll do these remaining fires. I'm going to do them off camera just because, but I figured I'd do the mechanism again, just to show you how cumbersome this chart is to work with, at least for me. Like, sure, you get used to things as you go, but one of the big barriers for this game with me was it was painful right away. One quick note, as I get to the second shot here, I put this here. I gotta figure out what formation I'm in. These guys look like they dropped into line when they were disordered, which means I actually, there is no, although disordered is its own formation, it uses the formation, the target class of the formation it was in. So this is not as good, I guess. 3 or higher. Well, we're making the shot. And there we cause yet another casualty. This guy is a disordered unit. He's disintegrating rapidly. And he was a 3, but he's lost like 3. He's a 0. He routes. I mean, I'm allowed to swerve around things, right? Oh, I'm just so upset by the retreat rules. They're so loosey-goosey here. All retreats are executed by the owning player. In determining the French, must go... Yeah, I think I have to go through the units. I can swerve around enemy units, but may not turn to avoid... I may retreat over friendly units if desired. See, that's my problem. Is it sounds like I can avoid it, but I really don't feel like I can avoid it going up this way. So, I don't know. I mean, I would have broken through here and caused some slight issues. I'm not going to end up far enough away. I think I've got to retreat this way. 1, 2, 3. We're getting a routed marker. We are now a routed formation. I always forget to subtract my point. That's going to disorder this whole stack, which is in column. And because fire combat's not simultaneous in any way, I would have an option of firing at these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an interesting question. Oh, geez, I had something I wanted to say, and I held off saying it for some reason. Because I wanted to roll some dice or whatever, and now I've forgotten it. And it was kind of a cool something. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't negative. I know, I'm always negative, right? Let's look at the fire picture. 1, 2, 3. 4 is medium range, yeah. So I could either be a medium range 6-point gun here. Medium range at 6 puts me over to this column. But I'd be firing at a line, 1, 2, 3, 4. So medium range at 6, my fire quality is 2, so I'm in the middle row. So I can look at that. That looks like an average of 1. And then the other option is fire at this disordered unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is going to be long range. I have 6 guns, so I'd be on the second column at 2 against the type 1. Wait, are these guys in line? Well, they're a masked target. I mean, they're in trouble no matter what. Which looks like it has actually a better shot. So I'm going to shoot these disordered guys instead, just for the improved hits. Oh, I'm not allowed to. I have to shoot the closest target. Okay. Never mind. So we're over here. And that'll cause another casualty, and another morale check, and a leader loss check. So this goes down to a 4. That morale is a 2 now. Maybe you're supposed to keep your French in column. First I make a leader loss check. I'm pretty sure it only happens on a 6, but I gotta check. I don't remember where the casualties are for the leaders. Thought they'd be under special targets. Effect, maybe? Yeah, I'm not seeing that. Oh, good Lord. All right. And we don't have a section on leaders which would like duplicate the information or whatever. Here we go. Stack with the command unit. Whenever any points are eliminated, a 6 reduces it. If the fire was from medium or minimum range, a 5 or 6 reduces. This was from medium range, so we caused a hit to this as well, which reduces its value and costs a morale point. And now we're at morale 2. The morale is shit, man. In line. I think we lived through that, but I should check this because I think there's like a modifier for being in medium range. If the elimination of a friendly unit, if adjacent to a friendly unit, if maximum range charge zone, medium range charge zone. Okay, I do not see it here. So there we go. So we held. Cav really spooks the infantry, apparently. Did I? I did not. I need to get a 4 for that. It's kind of funny. I also get different opinions from people based on Like, my experience with this was that the French had no chance. They couldn't dislodge the Allied forces. The guy who seems to have really loved the game back in the day, right, and played a lot of it, it's better than me for being able to face it, back then. I mean, as old as 35 or so, I was having difficulty with this. Now I actually feel like I'm having an easier time comprehending the game for some reason. Maybe it's just that I've faced much worse things in the time period. On the tactical level, right? I have not, like, things like La Grande Guerre and Universalis, Europa Universalis were so complex and so painful. I had to put in huge amounts of effort. And honestly, even Empires in Arms, for that matter, which, you would think, wow, that's pretty popular game for, yeah, it's got a lot of problems. Community came up with a lot of answers. I'm probably at odds with some of them. But, yeah, his impression was the French will always lose. Whereas I was watching a video, somebody else who covered it, did a playthrough and whatnot. And he's kind of the impression that the French are unstoppable, mainly because there's so many weak morale Allied units. Now, I don't know if there are that many. I'm looking at what's in the front line, and like, yeah, there's some crappy stuff coming in as well, but like, I don't know. Anyway, right now I feel like the French have more of an opportunity than I ever felt before. Like, before, I always felt like it just ended up this static line and I didn't want to do anything. I was afraid to do anything. I didn't want to move a piece. Now I feel fine doing it. I don't know why. Anyway, we're going to go down the line and do the fire. And basically, we're going to be exchanging fire with these skirmishers. Who gets to go first? Again, odd is the Allies. The French get first shot. Now, this is where the big decision is. Which side do I want to go down first? If I go from here, the English could counteract me and fire this and then get the jump on me and always be ahead of me. I don't want to do that. What if I fire here? I think I'm safe there. So the French are going to want to fire this. So that's a 6-point line infantry at max range, though. So it's this first column. Against a class 3 skirmisher target, no terrain there. I basically need a 6 to hit it. And then the Brits are going to start down on this side. Okay, we don't get our 6. Now what I got to do is I got to keep kind of, and this, oh, that's what I wanted to discuss, Monmouth. Okay, like in Monmouth, I've got to keep a little marker on each side to kind of keep my place. And, it's a pain in the ass, but whatever. It's just part of this reciprocal fire situation, which is just weird, right? Okay, so yeah, I wanted to touch on why did I find Monmouth like approachable in a way that I don't this or didn't this? Because honestly, yeah, other than the Cav, I'm not too disturbed. Well, that's one of the things. The Cav is much more, is a very detailed and kind of cumbersome system comparatively, or weird system at least. And then there's the skirmishers coming out and doing their thing. So those two are definitely additions to it. But I think more of it had to do with this, or a big part of it had to do with this battle is going to happen kind of all at once. Monmouth you had this, advanced guard unit running out in front and catching some of the Brits and forcing them into a fight. So, like, you didn't have as big a line of forces hitting right at the beginning of the game. So it built its way up towards it. Whereas with this, unless I had just played Monmouth, I was in no position to kind of face the difficulty of these tables. I also don't remember. I'm pretty sure the fire result table is the same. I'm not so sure about the shock table, man. Or maybe I just didn't do shock combat. Maybe it's not in it. It's quite possible. I don't remember. If it's lacking shock combat, that would be a big difference. Okay, anyway. I will work my way now. So actually we fired from here, so it's actually the French who fired. I should not mark the English. I don't know what I should do. I fired this one, so I'm on this one. I got to come up with some kind of mechanism to remind me. If I have any of my little clip ties, hey, I do. Excellent. It's been a couple of games I've used these in. These I think I used for Banish All Their Fears. And I've just kept them around. They're technically not needed. Fuck. Oh. Alright, so here's the problem. I can't use tweezers with my left hand. So this is the next unit firing here, and this will be the next unit firing here. And then where do I want to fire this rifle? Kind of doesn't matter. This unit's a little beaten up, and has a 2 morale, so I'm more likely to scare it off. I guess I'll shoot at that. So that's going to be, again, a skirmisher out here at max range, though, so it goes down to the... Either way, it's on this column. But it's the high quality fire at a +1. It means that, what am I shooting at? I'm shooting at line. I need a 4, 5, or 6. And we don't get it. And then, you know, we move this to the next line. These are a little too flimsy, but I don't know. Anyway, I'll be back as I do this while I have with both hands. I did want to jump in because we had a success here where we killed one of the rifle units. This guy does have to make a morale check. He wouldn't if he was a formed unit, but he's just a skirmisher. So a skirmisher dissolving scares him. So there is some possibility of like the line dissolving because that thing would rout because it's just a skirmisher. It's already disordered, right? Okay, and that will pull me back to this as my next, and I keep working my way through. It's a cumbersome system. It's painful. I remember having trouble with it in Monmouth, and yeah, it's not pleasant here either. Popping in because there's interesting, weird little things going on. So like here, this guy fired. He didn't get an effect. But now I'm going to be on this. This fires this one unit, which, you know, can kind of get me a jump along the line and get me to the middle or whatever earlier, fill up more space. Just, you know, some weird little interesting stuff. But it only fires at one enemy as well. It's not... So again, compare this to the extended lines in, say, well, the NBS, the CWB design systems. Each part has a certain amount of firepower, and they both fire their firepower. It's basically a per hex firepower. Here, this is just kind of this weird, like, I don't know, it's taking up twice as much space, and it only fires, you know, it doesn't fire as much or as effectively as a couple of smaller units would. Again, it's just like this, yeah, why? Why would that be the case? Just why? You also can't split fire and stuff like that in any sort of way. So there's like no answer to get you to like the kind of capabilities that you have in a lot of the games on more that TSS line of tactical gunpowder rules. If this is a positive or negative, you can concentrate fire in order to, you know, get a disordered result, then a rout result, because you can keep firing at the same unit again and again. I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that, because something in me says that feels weird. I don't see any inhibition against firing at the same unit again. And the thing is that if you get a hit on a unit, you're weakening its morale class. You've got it disordered. Now it might rout. And then the units next to it are going to have to make morale checks as well. So, no, I didn't have to make a check with this because it was higher initial morale. But anyway, you can disrupt the line more with that kind of fire. It's a weird gamey kind of mechanism. I've got to say, TSS has its own where you're like, yeah, and the CWB system and whatever, where you're like, okay, I'm going to allocate this many firepower, you know, to that hex and save an extra firepower to get me onto a better column, you know, and all kind of stuff like that. I'm not sure this is any worse than that. It's just a little less familiar to me. That I'm very concerned about is I have to keep track of each loss on here. And I know I'm missing some. I know it. It's not a simple anything like a chart like that is always painful, and when it's just, you know, so many different individual occurrences. Right now I've got the French at 82, the Allies at 59. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. And I really don't trust it, and there's not an easy way to come up with it. I guess you could assess all the counters that have been hit and whatever, but it's easier in games where you can just keep a stack of units and it's like each unit that's destroyed costs you points, but here it's by the strength point, and that is, I think, unwise. But yeah, we'll see if it, you know, I mean, it's going to have an effect. My armies are going to last too long, which is, I don't know who that's an advantage for, because they both want to break each other. It's an advantage for the draw. And yeah, I'm still working my way through. Now I got a disordered unit to fire here. I've got just these two left. It is, I'm doing a lot of mechanical things for each casualty. So I have to put a marker down, then, you know, make my morale check and all that stuff that seems strange, you know, that seems pretty normal to me, right? And then collateral morale checks and everything. But at some point or another, I have to move this down. I move, you know, again, I have no assurance, no faith in what the victory condition trackers are going to show, and no way of no easy way of reassessing them. But I could paw through all the units and look at all the strength points. Remember that there's 6 of these and count them. Artillery become a little more difficult because they can die in one of 2 ways, so I may want to bag them if they don't actually count as casualties. But of course, if I lose gun points and then lose the unit due to, yeah, it's like, I think there's no way of being guaranteed to reconstruct the actual hits that you've done to the morale. All right, I got, 2 more units to fire. It takes forever, too, especially if you take breaks in chat in between each roll. So that gets me to Allied Charge. They aren't going to have any Allied Rally. Do I want to go forward with the Allied turn? You know, I think I'm going to pause here, honestly. I just did the fire combat. It was a tedious and painful operation, and I need break, you know. I also need tea, which is definitely affecting it. But yeah, it's, you know, now that the units are engaging, it is mechanically wearing on me. Games are doing that more and more nowadays. I don't know. Now that we're actually getting into the battle, Allied Charge, yeah, the Cav doesn't have any real charge opportunities there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I cheat these charge things, make them too wide? I don't know. Is this guy got that? No, that looks right. Okay. I hit the French shock. I didn't make one. Let me go back. We did the fire already. Okay, fuck it. I would have had an opportunity to shock this line unit. I'm not sure if I wanted to. I definitely don't want to hit the artillery. I think I'd rather hold my cav off anyway until a better opportunity's out there. But I'm not sure. Okay. Allied charge, there isn't one. Allied rally. Okay. Disordered units just have to not be within minimum range fire zone. So this gets to rally. These guys are disordered, but they're not able to rally. They're still in the woods. And I could change his facing if I wanted to for free. After that, we remove route. They can't be in the maximum range fire zone of an enemy unit. We're not in that. So he is going to become a skirmisher. Might have to be in range of a leader, right? Skirmishers don't require command units. So this is kind of funny. Not obstructed terrain, not within minimum range. Disorder can never be removed. When a unit covers, it must be the same formation, in the same formation it went into. I don't see anything about a commander being needed there. After all eligible disorder, must remove routes by a friendly skirmish that's not within here. Skirmish units do not require command units in order to rally. Yeah, it doesn't say that here either. Is there somewhere where it's telling me that I need... There we go. Immediately after all eligible... Yeah, no. Okay. No, this is for skirmishers. This is for normal units. Okay, that's why. They do require a commander. Sure, no problem. Okay. But I don't have any routes for the allies other than that skirmisher, which I think is in this hex. Its facing actually doesn't matter, so I might want to align it with other things. Now the French get to do their movement, facing in formation, and I have to worry about rallying the French. So let's look at this. I have to either be stacked with or adjacent to a commander to rally units, with the exception of Wellington, and the French don't have Wellington. So let's get started. A big French push forward, trying to scare these skirmishers out of the way, make my stream crossing a little earlier. Same thing here. I'm in the hardened terrain here to make it harder to kill my leader. Pushing forward a bunch of units in column. It's too tight to attack in line, man. I just can't do it. I also couldn't move close enough. I'd rather get into a position where I can exchange fire and start causing morale checks on these allied units, because my morale is better, especially in column. It's kind of neat to see the French doctrine of column attacks and whatnot actually kind of applying. It feels a little late. This isn't the point at which, you know, they were sort of in their greatest heyday, but you still have the French moving forward columns to attack, and it actually kind of makes sense. Especially given the sequence of play, the way I want to move into a place where I can fire and then force the allies back, force their line continually back as I keep pressing forward with more and more. I've got a couple of leaders dispatched to go deal with the routed units. I don't know what this artillery unit is doing. It's moving awfully slow. I may have forgotten to move it. I'm assuming I did. Let's get it up a little bit. We actually unlimbered a gun somewhere. I don't know where. There we go. Able to launch some fire into those into those skirmishers. Yeah, we may not want to waste fire on that, but we'll see. This is the 9.2. I think, I don't know. One of them has more ammo than the rest. And it's something second corps, but I don't know which. The French 2 battery. That's this one. Okay. I'd actually note that one by putting an 8 under it. Hope I don't forget and say, oh, that must be a 7. It can't possibly be an 8. I'm going to put an 8 under it. Everything else has 6. So I want to pay attention to that. That's like the main core. The others are, I guess, divisional batteries. You don't have to maintain divisional integrity or anything like that, thank God, because it's really hard to read these units. I'm hoping Wellington's victory is a little better. Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek at the counters. They may be less dark. You know, yeah. See, these are glossies. Got a slightly different typeface. I think they're more readable, which is going to be a real advantage for me because my poor eyes, I could, if I needed to, I could switch glasses and probably see okay. All right, we're going to swap batteries, send this up. I'm going to point something out, which I did on the intro thread already, or over on BGG, which is that, you know, I'm actually kind of having fun doing this right now. This game that has always been horrible for me, I'm having as much fun as I do with Monmouth, okay? So far. I'm worried about the Cav. I really am. That's the one part of the game that I feel like I'm the most uncomfortable with, but maybe after I do a couple of Cav charges, I'll kind of assimilate it. And that'll be important because that's going to, you know, if I'm going to do Wellington's victory, and I want to. I don't like the glossy counters, by the way, but they do look more readable than these suckers. If I do get to do Wellington's victory, I really do want to have a little bit more comfort with the system. Yes, there are going to be some differences, but we'll see. And I'm reading the rules to it, so as those rules sort of enter into my brain, I may see more of how this is supposed to work, and may find, you know, some of the assumptions I made or whatever based on reading these rules and the condition they're in. I may find arguments for the assumptions I've made or against them. Thing I can say, I think in previous plays, I think I tried to smash through the woods, which just doesn't look like a good idea. I don't know what I was thinking. But, you know, I'm like, I've got too many troops. Well, okay, I got a reserve then. I can live with that.